WAC is
all the
really
rack
so
of
tired of him.
machines going.
That was my guy.
The hum of all those machines all the time.
Oh, he sends me emails.
No, I mean,
Oh,
Dave.
yeah. He's just like,
And it's gonna be
I mean, like you said one the other day. Every week.
At least 5 or 6. I'm not sure what the date is, but I think it's
Okay, but what does that mean? Yeah, you know, or he loves the bitch left the TV listening. Something not right with the TV.
yeah, it's not ideal. And then having to walk out and see his vision, especially cars. You have to go clear around the back instead of using the door on the side. They want to use that just for the construction. So we literally have to walk,
Teams that
like, you know, the full cost in that door right next to where your cars are. How are you? Playoff baseball. And clear around instead of walking like 20 feet. Right.
I was in the window. They ripped up most of my tickets.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
You.
But if you don't put it in airplane, you can play other levels.
Not yet. No, he plays to the last second all the time.
We don't actually because it's not accurate enough. Actually, it's just like it's close enough that you can find it.
And then we can like
This I haven't turned on. I haven't played it. So
we'll come in at the end.
yeah, so we'll do it later. We won't do it.
Sure, we've been down this road before.
What's that?
Remember that one dude whose wife got called?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jake Hammer.
Yes.
I always put on there.
Oh, well, here you go.
Oh, I should thought you were going to have the opening statement. Josh is actually going to make the opening remarks this week. So, all right, guys. Press conference for Hawaii. We'll start with Coach. Just to remind everybody, microphone for questions.
Good to go? All right. Back in it, normal week, which is good. Back at home. Excited about that. Appreciate our fans in Vegas. They were awesome, and we could feel them, and looking forward to an even better environment this week at home, and excited to get back and ready to play on the blue. Hawaii is a really good football team, 4-1. Coach Rolovich has done a great job with this group. Offensively, they are firing on all cylinders is what it looks like, and they've got a lot of firepower. Quarterback McDonald is playing well. Wide receiver Bird is a guy that stands out and has been putting up the stats right now, which show that. Defensively, very strong up front, very strong at linebacker, very strong at safety. They do have a veteran group. I think there's 7 returning starters. They're seniors and juniors, so those guys know how to play. They show that on film. Special teams are very solid, which is an area we're working on and always constantly trying to improve. So we got, in our opinion, the best football team we played all year long. Hawaii seems to show that from the film we've watched. And they've had a bye week, so they have an advantage. They got a chance to take some time, I'm sure, for their guys, get some guys healthy, rest a few players, get themselves prepared, and work on some of their things, and then obviously focus on us. And we have a normal week, so we have to get back to work. We did. We got back late from playing UNLV, and the guys, we moved the schedule back about an hour, but everybody came back in here. We practiced, got after it, watched film. And for us, it's really just about our preparation throughout the week and what we do and how we handle that and what our focus is going into really for Tuesday's practice at this point. And I think our guys have done a better job of that. I know a couple weeks ago I talked about that we needed to prepare better, and that meant spending more time and watching more film and getting in here and getting ourselves ready to go for practice. I think we saw a little bit of an improvement into the UNLV week, but it's still, that's the challenge every week of how you're going to do it. You're getting more film now this time of year to watch on opponents, so what are you studying? Where's your time? And you have, I know in class this week, they got tests, they got things coming up, midterms, things like that, that are important. And so for our players, you know, what does that week look like? Where does that time go? You got to sacrifice some things in order to prepare yourself the way you need to. We'll do that in practice. We'll get ourselves back into a normal week. We'll get to utilize our Friday, so we're not playing an early game, which we like to be able to do that. We'll stay in our hotel. We'll get ourselves ready to play, and then hopefully have our best performance of the season. That's the goal every single week. And we've done that in certain areas, and then we've gone backwards in some other areas. So I don't think we've had the consistency yet that we're all hoping for and to the standard that we want to play at. But I do like our guys' resiliency. I like the fact that they come out and they accept challenges each week. We did start fast in the UNLV game, which is what we talked about, and that needed to continue. It wasn't just fast and then we back off. It was fast and a continuation of how we started. You know, we wanted to see that consistency through the game. And we didn't finish quite the way we wanted to. We had some other players in at the end of the game, and they got challenged, which is good opportunities for them. And then we gave up a few points there at the end. So from that standpoint, we'll go back and obviously evaluate that, and we did that, and we'll correct those things. And it's always, to me, you got 3.5 hours, and what else are you going to do when you're out there, right? Focus on the game. Focus on the task at hand. Focus on what you need to be doing. And when you get your opportunity, go in there and make the most of it. How you get more opportunities is when you get one or two, you make the most of it. You get a chance to play. It might be running down on kickoff. It might be the last kickoff of the game and you don't want to go in, or that's not important to you. It is to us. Every single rep, and what we try to get through to our players and our coaches is everything matters. We come out on a Sunday practice and we have to have ourselves dialed in. Every rep we take on a Sunday practice for a correction or on to the next opponent, it matters. And you want to come out there and not be ready, coaches or players. That's unacceptable. That's just not how we're going to do things, because that's what gets you beat. So that's been the message, and hopefully you guys are hearing that, and we carry that into our preparation tomorrow. And at 7:30 in the morning, we have our meeting in here, and we're talking about Hawaii. We're getting locked in. Guys have notes out. They're listening to what the coaches are saying and getting the description of the team we're going to play, and then they get themselves ready to go out there and have a great Tuesday practice. And we got a lot of guys on this team that are doing that. We just need more. We got guys that are taking advantage of all the information and opportunities that they have to come in here and get themselves ready, but we need more. So those guys are trying to pull the others that direction, and hopefully we can do that. And it shows up when we practice on Tuesday, which is better for us. You guys won't see that, but we'll know it. We'll know where we're at on Tuesday. We'll know where we're at on Wednesday, and we'll know if we had a good week or not. And if we do that, our chances go up of having a successful performance when we go out there and actually play. So, but other than that, really good football team, and got a lot of respect for Hawaii, always have. A lot of respect for Rolovich. He does a great job there, and we're looking forward to the contest, and really more important than getting ourselves ready to play and being better than we were last week. So questions?
You're asked about after the game, but the running game, you mentioned things being inconsistent at times this year. I know the running game is probably one of those areas that you're looking at, but the short yardage stuff, and what are you kind of seeing there? And now that you do have all 5 of your linemen back up front, is that the running game something you would like to see improve a little bit?
Well, we ran it differently. We did have 6 yards per carry. It was something like that. So we did it with the wide receivers. We did it in a more creative way, not a traditional way, which was a little bit what we had to do. UNLV did a good job. They came in there and they sold out, but then they opened up opportunities for us to do some different stuff. And so I thought we made really good adjustments that way. And it's one of those in the run game, you can kind of beat your head against the wall when they're giving you those looks, which we did on short yardage. And we got the one that we went for in 4th down. Now the other one, it was there. We just missed it, the bottom line. I mean, we missed it. That's flat out. It wasn't anything they did. It was what we did. And you know what? Hey, we've run that play 1,000 times, and we've hit it, in the right spot most of the time, and we didn't. And that's really what it came down to. And that's, our players know that. We know that. And, we run it right, we might have a touchdown. That's the difference. See, what we see, you get stopped on a 4th down play, and then you see a touchdown when you go back and review it. So there's those opportunities. And now, what does that come down to? That comes down to how we prepared. And if we didn't prepare our players the right way to really know that in a key moment, then that's on us. And as coaches, I take that personally. I know our coaches do as well, and that is completely on us as coaches, that we have got to make sure we know what we're trying to get done each time. Assume nothing. We run it 1,000 times, and this is the thing to me. Yeah, we've done it 1,000 times. I've told them 1,000 times. Well, who cares? Tell them 5,000 times. It doesn't matter, because we didn't do it right. So that's the part of coaching that becomes the challenge. Right? You just assume. You assume that it's going to happen that way, and it doesn't happen like that. And then when you get in a critical moment and you lose the down because of that, that's a turnover in my opinion. That's an absolute turnover. And we lost the turnover battle because of that play in the game. And if you can't get half a yard, that's disappointing. I mean, believe me, I know how everybody else feels. I mean, that's gut-wrenching when you can't get half a yard. And we've already been we've been like 135th in the country a few years ago, right? We were so bad. Yeah, we were so far behind we thought we were in first place. All right, when we were at short yardage. So we spent a lot of time on that, and we're not going backwards. We don't want, and we did, unfortunately, literally on that play, and we got to find a way to not let that happen. That's one thing that we're very we paid a lot of attention to it. Let me just say that, and so we don't want to go backwards in that area.
I know when you play a team like Air Force, which has such a different offense, you know, sometimes you got to, like, I remember you almost platoon linebackers a little bit in the past, and
yeah.
I wonder about when you play a team like Hawaii and that run and shoot type of scheme, how that alters things for you guys defensively in terms of maybe some guys who haven't played a ton might have to, you know, play a lot more.
Sure. Well, you're going to have to rotate guys, no doubt about it. I don't see it. You know, the one thing about Hawaii, they can throw it, they can run it. You know, they do a good job of that. They're very good about when they're calling plays and how they're going to execute their offense and who they want to get the ball to. So I don't think we have to change too much of our style. We got to play a different offense that does throw the ball more, and they're very good at it. And I think their execution, because of their players and how those guys go out there and operate their system, is the key to their success. So we have to make sure that we operate our system very well too, and at a high level. You got to cover guys, and you got to be prepared for the run game and some of the other things that they do. But I don't think it's about trying to keep guys fresh and necessarily that. It's just, you know, who's going to go out there and execute against a little bit different. It's not Air Force, you know, a lot different than that. And we didn't change a bunch of people in Air Force. We just had to execute against a different style of offense. Now, this is a little bit different in how they do things, but that's part of the challenge every week. I've said this too, in the Mountain West, like the different styles of offenses we face, our defensive guys every week, you know, it's just don't settle into one thing. And that's why in the off season, spring, summer, fall, we do so much on defense of just getting as many formations, looks, concepts, all that we can possibly get, because we're going to see a variety of it. Then you got to recall it, you know, when it comes game time. So they've seen the passing concepts. We've worked that in our offense. They've seen those from different offenses too. I mean, there's a lot of similarities that way. There's just more of them, and the key is Hawaii's good at it. That's the key, and that's what you've got to go out there. You got to be good at what you're doing against them.
4 years ago, the last time we played Hawaii, this is a totally different team. They've obviously taken a lot of great strides. Where do you think they've made their greatest strides? And for someone that wasn't here in the June Jones era, what makes this team similar to what they had then?
Well, they're more June Jones, right, with the style. I mean, and Rolovich was there. He gets it. So, I mean, when I say June Jones, I mean, I think that's equally as much of what Coach Rolovich was a part of too. That's his system and what he's done. I know he had a couple other stops and learned a few other things. You see that variety in what they do. But this team, I think they're talented, which is, you know, the teams that we played before. I think Hawaii's always been talented. They got good players. And I think their offense, their quarterback is playing well. I think they got receivers around them that are doing a really good job. And defensively, you know, against a couple of the teams in there, they picked it up. They played pretty stout that way up front. And, you know, the more, you know, probably as the season's gone on, I don't know the comparisons necessarily, just what I know now, what I see. I mean, they're playing pretty consistent football at this point. But we've had some good battles with Hawaii over the years, and I've been a part of that, a lot of those games. And playing over there, playing on the island, playing here, there's a lot of history between these teams. And, you know, we don't play each other every single year now, but now that we have a chance to get back there and get back and play them again, you know, our guys are looking forward to it. They know who Hawaii is. Hawaii's had their attention for a while, and some of these guys played in the previous game. They know who they are. And I think from recruiting, and we got guys from Hawaii, and there's that connection piece as well. So they're very aware of what Hawaii has done and who they are and what they're about.
I was going to ask you about Nick Rolovich in particular and just the job that he's done. I mean, You know, they had fallen on some pretty hard times when he took over. He's clearly a character, and you know, the last time you guys played him, he's carrying benches off the sidelines,
right,
you know, during the game. So just curious the thought that, you know, what your thoughts are on Nick Rolovich and the job he's done.
Yeah, I think he's done a really good job as a coach, and I think where they are right now, from what I've seen, he's got good players in there. Whatever they're talking about in their meeting rooms, they seem to be buying into that, and they've been out there playing at a really high level. They beat a couple Pac-12 teams, and you know, that's not easy to do. And they've been in some tight ball games, so they've been able to finish in some of those games. And I think anybody that's coaching, that you see that from their teams, you respect that, and you know they're doing something, and you know that they either got the right guys, they're saying the right things, they're practicing the right way. Something's going right for them in what they're doing. And yes, he's a character. He's fun to be around. He brings a lot of, you know, joy to the media days and all those things. And he's also a guy too you can sit down and have a conversation with. And I've had a chance to get to know him when he was a coordinator at other places, and also as the head coach. But I respect those guys. I respect the coaches in our league and what they do, and he's certainly one of them. And when you pop on the tape, you watch how they play. All right, that's part of, you respect what they do. And so that's motivation for you to get yourself prepared and ready and make sure that you have everything that you need to get done that week in order, so it happens, and you're going to go out there and play a really good football team. And that's what we want to do. You want to play teams like this. You want to play good teams. It's a challenge. We're 5 games in now. I mean, we should be ready to get ourselves at least prepared for this, and then whatever happens on Saturday, we'll find out.
Slipped a little bit in third down production. On the other hand, in the red zone, you did very well. How do you see this trend? What causes it?
Yes. One area goes up, one goes down, right? Yeah, that's you hear me say consistency a lot. That's always the thing we're chasing a lot of times. I did think we've done a much better job in the red zone. We've certainly emphasized that. And I talked about a while ago, maybe a month ago, just talking about the mindset of the guys when they get down there. Like, you really got to want to get in. You got to have that smell blood mindset. And I think our guys they're doing a better job of that. And we're able to find ways to get it in the end zone. So we've been more consistent that way. The third downs, credit to UNLV. I thought they did a good job. I thought they played us well in those situations. We will go back and we've evaluated it. We know why. And we know there were some things that we left out there on the table, too, we could have hit. I mean, there was opportunities there that we had hit some of those plays we just didn't hit that night. So I don't think – I'm always concerned about when we see numbers like that, but I'm not going to say what we're doing is not good enough as far as how we're getting ourselves ready to play. We got to execute in those situations, and we got to clean up a few things as coaches and how we – put the schemes together, but I know we can fix that. I know we identified it very quickly. You know, guys were on the plane, coaches pulled out their iPads and start to watch it, and it's like, bang, there it is, bang. And you know the answers. It's not like you're sitting there going, oh, man, that should have been there. And all. It's just like, hey, that was what we did. This is why it happened. Here's the fix, and this is what we have to practice. And then, like anything, you're focused on red zone. I mean, sometimes in practice, your time spent, and it might even be 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes more on red zone. It's 5 minutes less on third downs. All right, we got to keep balancing that every week in the practice schedule, and that's the reality of it, and that's something that I do. I look at it, and 5 minutes here and there means a lot for our execution come Saturdays.
Curtis achieving a little bit of history over the weekend. I'm curious, so far this season, 5 games into the year, what have you been most impressed with when it comes to his performance and his play?
Well, yes, he does. He's the Mountain West career sack leader, and you know, we actually addressed that in the team. You know, and we did that with Brett. When Brett broke the record for passing, we addressed it, and when Curtis broke the record for sacks, we addressed it. I mean, those things don't go unnoticed. You know, we're not going to sit there and not talk about those things because we think it's going to be bad for us to do that. He did it with a lot of guys around him and helped him execute that. No different than Brett, no different than other guys in our team in the past that have set records. And that's an accomplishment for the team. What Curtis has done, Curtis has prepared himself every single week to go out there and do that. You guys, when you see Curtis in the individual periods and all that, and you guys get a chance to see him, he's going hard, then he gets in the team period. He's not out there loafing. He's not out there just going through the motions. He's not doing that. And if he ever is, it takes about, one play to snap right back into it and be like, what are you trying to accomplish? and how important are you to the scheme that we're running, and you either having the one-on-one or creating somebody else a better matchup. So he's been a great teammate. He's worked extremely hard at practice, and then his hard work doesn't go unnoticed on the field. And that's why he's in the position that he's in. And the other guys around him too, you know what, the beauty of this team, I don't think anybody's sitting there going, Curtis getting that. I think everybody's excited because they're a part of it. The other 10 guys on the field, that's pretty cool. And I know those DBs in the back, when they're trying to cover guys for a while, they really like that. They like when Curtis is able to go out there and get some pressure. That's less time they got to plaster in coverage, and we certainly need that going into this game as well. How are we going to be able to do those things and create some of those matchups like we want to, and hopefully get some other guys pressuring the quarterback and trying to create plays that way on the D-line. But overall, our D-line, how they're playing, I think Chase Atada is playing outstanding. I think that guy every single week, he brings it. Louis playing outstanding. Scaly Gahan is doing great things on the field, in the classroom, all over the place right now. He's doing a great job. We got Keegan Freeborn back, so he got a chance to, I think he was in there a little bit, but he's back out there and he's practicing, so we got him going. Scott Matlock, that guy's a stud, and he's only getting better. So there's a lot of guys. Dimitri Washington. Dimitri can come in there and play Curtis's position and be successful at it. He's got the ability. But he's doing a lot on special teams too. So we got guys up front that can make plays, and I think that's part of the success that we're having at that position too with Curtis. There's some good guys at that stud position that can play. He's just out there. He's out there making those plays and executing and finishing the play. When you see a guy sack a quarterback, it's not always like the free shot, right? You get the free shot, you go hit the quarterback, and that's pretty easy. The guys that have to bend the corner and the quarterback step up, they're good. They're not just back there standing there waiting to get hit. They're really good, and they move, and you got to keep bending. How hard is that when you got a 315-pounder leaning on you, and you're bending the corner, and you keep your feet, and you grab a hold of a guy, pull him down while somebody's landing on you? That's not an easy task. So that just takes a lot of relentless effort, in my opinion, and I think he's been doing that.
With Hank into the weeks, obviously
What's
the weeks are kind of starting to stack up in the college football season. So, looking at how he responds is, I mean, I think we all kind of get to the middle of the season and you start to feel it a little bit. So how is he kind of doing with that? And then you also look down inside the red zone. I mean, like completion percentage for him kind of dips a little bit down there. I mean, how much you run out of space and things get tighter and quicker, and just how much more of a challenge is that? Yeah, I think Hank's doing fine. He was, you guys probably saw it when he put the video out there. He's pushing out the cart, all right, carrying out the gear at the end of the game, right? He's still a freshman. He knows his role, right? He's still a freshman. Hey, push the gear out there, carry the bags, whatever. I don't think he's lost that, position that he's in. He's a good player. He's a starter for us, but, there's still a lot. There's a lot that he's learning as the season goes on. There's a lot he's getting better at. And to me, I think he's doing a great job. I really do. I think he's been preparing himself every week a little bit better, seeing a few more things, providing more ideas, which is what you want. I mean, that's the progression. Red zone, I think Tom Brady's percentage is dropping the red zone a little bit when they get down there. It's hard. Like, you got to really be, when you throw the ball down there, you can't be a butcher out there. You're a surgeon when you're down there in the red zone. That's really what it is. I mean, it is precise. And there was a couple throws. We were footwork away from Octavius having a touchdown. But that's perfect footwork. It's perfect footwork from the quarterback position. If it's not perfect, then you run out of space and you're one step too far out of bounds. And now, again, in the game, play whatever in the game, play 25 in the game. Oh, yeah, let me be perfect right here on this yard line with my footwork. Those things come, but that's what it is. And I think that's always the case for every quarterback when you get down in the red zone, no matter who you are. It gets tougher, tighter. If you're going to throw it down there, you better be damn good. And you better know where you're throwing. You better know it's on time, and you better trust the look. And your receivers and guys down in that area, they got to be really, really dialed into what they're doing.
back to Curtis for a second. When guys doing what he's doing, it kind of brings spotlight a little bit to the guys who did it before him. And the guys he's behind, Chris Wing, who obviously was a teammate of yours.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you remember about 1996 when he had 20 sacks, and then Helgeson, I don't know if you saw him as a fan as a kid, but I'm just wondering what you remember those two guys that he's chasing who have these crazy records.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with Eric Helgeson. I mean, to me, I watched him. That guy, what I remember when I was younger, like that was the best football player I had ever seen, right? In my opinion, that guy was a walk-on. He was the talk of the team. He was, just that tough, kind of bad A dude, right? I mean, that's just what he is. That's what he was, and I remember that. And that's like those are the kind of guys that you gravitated towards because you wanted to be like that, right? You just that tough guy that people talk about, and the way he played, and blood on his nose, and snot bubbles, and all those things, right? I mean, that's what I remember about him. I think, he's one of the toughest football players that when you sit in the stands, I got to be close to, right? I wasn't around a bunch of NFL guys and things like that, but he certainly gave that impression off to me. Chris Wing. Now, I got hit by Chris Wing in practice plenty of times. All right, quarterbacks weren't live, and every time I was back there on the scout team, I was live. And I tried to tell him that, and, in the locker room, he'd be wanting to fight me, and so that didn't really work out great in my favor. So I became friends with him, and that seemed to work a little bit better because he was another guy. I mean, just absolutely, in a really good way, that crazy teammate on the defensive side of the ball that you love to be around, right? You want that guy on your team. You want to be around that guy. He's going to bring energy. And he was you watch Chris, when Chris would go out there and get a sack, like it was the best thing that's ever happened in his life, right? In that moment. And it was pure, just absolute joy, enthusiasm, and it was felt by the team. Like you got around a guy like that, he's infectious that way. So I got to witness it with Eric, and I got to be around it with Chris. And then obviously I think you feel that too when Curtis goes out there and makes plays. A little bit different for me, you're staying in the game, you're kind of focused and all that, so you don't really enjoy those moments as much as the players do. But you feel it, and you see when he makes that play. I mean, you're excited, then it's like you got to lock back into whatever's next, right? Because you're always paranoid and what the next play might be. But those guys feed off of that. I know our players do. I know our team does. I know that people in this facility, they do, and certainly Curtis goes out there and plays like that too. I think those guys that play with that emotion, the two guys we talked about before, they certainly did that, and I think Curtis is able to do that as well, and he's talented on top of that. But it doesn't just come from talent. It comes from his motor and his hard work, and that's what the other guys had too.
Guys back in the offensive line looked like to me like Hank was better as far as being kept up, not being hit.
Right.
How much is them? What did they do? How much is Hank getting better? It just seems like the last couple of games that hasn't been nearly as much of a problem.
Yeah, we were better. Yeah, we've been better. I think protection-wise, the backs, O-line, Hank, everybody. It's just we're getting better at what we're doing. And Hank certainly is as well. There's quicker throws that we're getting out of our hands. We're throwing it on time. Drops are a little bit better. O-line's picking up some of the mistakes that we made early on. You work it enough, you're going to, they brought a few blitzes in that game that we didn't pick up 2 weeks ago, and we did in this one. And like those are little moments right there when you see it on film. Like that's a internal celebration right there with everybody and for the offensive line, because that's a big deal. They're going to try to do the same thing they beat us on, and we picked it up. We didn't get beat again. That's why you have your corrections and things at the end of the week before you go into the next game. But I think the O-line, I think the backs, I think Hank, I think it's a combination. I think the coaches doing a little bit different scheme on certain things, dialing up the opponents maybe a little bit better. So that has improved, and hopefully that continues. We have time. And, one of the things you guys haven't asked about Cord yet, Cord came in and played pretty well. Cord came in and had a touchdown throw and had a couple plays in there. We had some explosive runs on, and, he stayed upright. He did a good job. He got the ball out of his hands right. He knew where the quick throws were. They got a few pressures on him. He got it out. And that's the thing Chase brings to the table. There's some experience there, too, where it's like, boom, I know what's coming. I got that outlet right there. It's going to be out of my hands. And then guys aren't even close to him. So there's always a little bit of that from protection, quarterback, decision-making, all those things.
You talked about using a couple running backs, and you've still stuck to that, and said kind of maybe in the back of your mind, it's sometimes a guy eventually will emerge to kind of be that bell cow. And maybe so far, I don't know if you have found that. How is that working out so far? And it looks like obviously in that last game, George kind of gave you guys a really good spark out there.
Yeah, George gave us a spark. George hung onto the football. That's one thing. We're very big on ball security. I don't think that's a secret around here. You put the ball on the ground, you're going to be on the sideline. You're going to be watching a lot of the game. And we spend time talking about ball security, all right? And that's great. We can talk all we want. You got to do it. You got to do it. And we'll do a better job of practicing it. What we've done, in the past, it worked out really well. We didn't put the ball on the ground. We put it on the ground very little, and then we go back and do the same drills the same way. And then it doesn't work. So to me, you scratch that. You find a better way. And we are working on trying to find a better way because we still put the ball on the ground. And just at the end of the day, none of our backs, nobody's trying to do that. Those guys they're trying to do it right. And you got to give credit to the defense sometimes too, because they come in there and bam, they hit you just right. That ball can pop out. The one that we had, like even Van Buren's in Florida State, he does it exactly right. He's got one hand, he's got the whole 6 points of pressure, he's got it all locked, and the guy just hit it perfectly, and the ball popped out. And you're sitting there going, all right, we got to, maybe our technique that the NFL and everybody's using, maybe there's something wrong, so you go break that down, right, to see if we missed something. And then you go back and just go, no, the guy just made a good play, and we lost the ball. A couple other times we're being a little bit careless with it, and the ball comes out. So number one is ball security. If you want to be on the field, you got to take care of the ball, and that's for everybody. And then two, that will allow us to get into a better rhythm. And George, I thought he was doing well. He made some big runs in there. The one that Cord came in and we had that play and he got in the perimeter was really good. George had that penalty on him, the blindside block. I told you guys that. I mean, that's a new one for all of us right now that we're trying to work through. And I sent those in, and there's a few responses back. That's not it. That is one. There's a few penalties in there. There's probably, we sent in about 8 plays, and 3, 4 come back like, yeah, I should have done this, should have done that. I mean, there's things in there that aren't always called perfectly, but as far as George and how he played and what he's doing, I think he's been pretty consistent. Rob is too. Rob put the ball on the ground, but love Rob, and know Rob's a really good tailback for us, and he'll keep playing. And it was good to get Van Buren. I know it was at the end of the game, but he did score. He had a good run, and he bounced that play where it's supposed to hit. And, that was a positive for us. So those guys, they know what's at stake. That's a group in there. You don't have to walk in there and say anything other than this is what we have to get done, and that's exactly what they want to accomplish. So I love all our tailbacks, and I know all those tailbacks can be successful, but we have to do it more consistently in the games. And right now, Rob is able to go out there and carry it, and George is able to go out there and carry it. Van Buren's getting better and getting into a better groove, and I see that. And Van Buren, on the one that Avery took back on the onside kick, you guys, I don't know if you saw it or not, Van Buren's blocking. He's got 2 guys. He's literally got 2 guys, one in his left hand, one in his right hand. He is dominating those 2 guys and running them and putting them on their back, and Avery's going to get 6 more yards and almost get in the end zone. Like things like that on special teams that you guys don't always get to see. They're doing stuff like that, which is huge for our team. And so he goes and puts 2 guys on their back, and he gets the chance to go score. You earn opportunities like that by going out there and playing hard. And we got a lot of guys doing that. That it?
That one seems strange.
Yeah. So, again, it's perception, right? The one that, remember Bryan Harsin earlier in the year had the blindside? Yeah. Okay, so he comes like this. He puts his hands on the guy. The guy's not looking, but he puts his hands on him and he goes down. That shouldn't be it. You put your hands on the guy, that shouldn't be it. The one you go in there now and you put a shoulder into a guy, right? Now, the argument was, that guy's chasing the quarterback and George is right there. I mean, it's really, I can't see you. He's right there in his line of sight. Right. And he dips down, and it's a clean target shot. It's not up in the face. It's right in the strike zone. And the guy goes down, and it looks bad because he struck him pretty good. As far as that goes, to me, that's more the perception of it than the rule.
So what do they want? They just want him to not block them as
They
hard
want-
in that situation?
They want it to be a softer, in that case, you could have turned around and you're running, you're looking at the quarterback instead of that.